We will rise again to glory then, soar into the sky. If you stop and see, then you just might believe. We're unstoppable, powerful, enough to beat the odds. If you love me, you will see the flames inside of me.
Alright, time to find out who this mystery bitch is, because I swear, I swear, I ain't putting up with this. What do you want now?
I'm just stating what's deep in your heart. Nothing more.
What do you mean?
Don't tell me I have to spell it out, dear. Damien turning human? He'd lose all of his powers. He'd be worthless, weak, and simple.
But what if that's what he wants?
Do you even know what he wants?
The memory of my wedding day flashed before my eyes. The voice was telling me the truth. Did I really know what Damien wanted? Was it anything he wanted for me? For the best! Oh my god! The voice chuckled deeply, a relaxation settling into my core.
Now you're getting it.
I remained silent, now lost once again. What was best? What if turning Damien human meant destroying who he was? I became trapped in the endless cycle of questions and confusion as the voice finally vanished and let the world continue on its journey forward in time.
You do not have to decide now, but I will be awaiting your answer if you do wish to try.
Thank you.
Diana nodded before leaving the room, most likely to prepare for the day. Damien and I stood in silence, me lost from the voice in my head and Damien lost in his own thoughts. What were we supposed to do? The option was now on the table, but instead of Diana sleeping with Damien, there was a chance that Damien could lose his life. I wasn't sure where I stood on the issue, but I didn't like the options I was given before and now. Was it better to just leave Damien a demon? Was it worth a dying to become human? The voice in my head teased me, prodding me to convince Damien to think against himself, but my heart knew that the choice was his alone, and I asked him, what, and I looked to him. What the fuck am I even doing? I could see the conflict in his eyes while he stood and took up both the breakfast plates Diana made for us. He walked to me at last and handed me one, looking into my eyes and locking our gaze into each other. Was he going to ask me? Was he going to keep the choice to himself?
Selfish.
I mentally flinched at the word, hearing it ring in my heart. However, as Damien turned and sat down on the edge of bed, I watched as he let out a sigh before starting to eat. I guess the choice was fully going to be his own, whether I liked it or not. We ate in silence until he left for his training and I headed for my own. Never had I felt such a strain and worry pull at my heart until this moment. I needed to work it out. As I arrived in the hall for training, I was surprised to see Diana in the room instead of Sato. Diana? Diana turned to me and crossed her arms, taking in my form.
You will be training with me today. I apologize for Sero's absence.
What do you mean? Where's Sato?
He asked to train on his own for the day. As he will be in the front lines of the siege, I granted him permission.
I pressed my lips together into a fine line, but nodded. If he was charging at the front, then it made sense that he'd want to take a day and work on himself. I held my hand out and summoned my weapon, ready to fight the Queen of the Rebellion head-on. Alright, then don't hold back. Diana nodded and prepped her stance, summoning her saber and bringing it back behind her. I had to use this new training partner as new experience. Not everyone would fight like Sato, so this was a good challenge for me. Fighting with Diana was no easy task. She was quick and thought 10 steps ahead of me, catching me off guard at some points. Still, I could tell that I was putting up a good fight with my defense. What surprised me was how time passed by without me even noticing it. The more I clashed with Diana, the more ignorant I became of the sky's eventual descent from light purple to dark orange. Soon enough, our training had ended. I panted, out of breath, but surprisingly still on my feet. I didn't understand how or why, but I could only assume that I was getting better, which was a good thing. Diana smirked as she relaxed, stretching back and making her saber vanish.
I will admit, dear, you've done well for just a handful of days.
I grinned, happy to hear that I had impressed Diana with my skills. I only trained for a couple of days, but showed great improvement. Maybe the demon world was aiding me in becoming a stronger person. Thank you, Diana. Diana nodded before walking to the exit of the room.
Now, please excuse me. I must see to the boys. You are free to come with if you'd like.
I declined and left the room as well, towards the opposite direction, feeling my bed calling to me. Besides, I didn't want to be a distraction. As I was heading to my room, I passed by a door that was only open a small crack, overhearing a quiet conversation.
This idea is idiotic, guard. Leaving during a war could be considered treason, and you would be abandoning your duties to your mistress.
I know that, but...
We're gonna get killed. I stopped walking and peered inside, wanting to see what was going on. Seto was standing steadfast by a large fireplace as Shadow, arrogant as ever, loomed over the small table that was covered in maps and books.
Do you really think a quest like this is beneficial to the war? All it would do is leave us with one less powerful ally for a significant amount of time.
I would not be gone long. I'd researched this.
Sorry.
Yes, I've researched this route multiple times. You've already spouted that more times than I care to appreciate. Regardless, even if things did go your way, and you journey there and back without some form of incident, you would turn up a day before the siege. Your mistress will not likely forgive your absence.
But I have a feeling that this will be worth that absence. If I can do this, if I can prove that my love for her is real.
You are having delusions of grandeur. Love does not exist for us demons. This quest is folly.
Glared at Shadow. Why was he being such an ass? Seto, however, looked to his feet, gritting his teeth and shutting his eyes.
You came here and asked for my counsel, guard. I am merely telling you the truth of the matter. Whatever hope that human placed in your mind is illogical, but only a detriment to our cause. I hope you take my words into careful consideration. Nothing fruitful will come from this journey you wish to undertake.
As he finished speaking, sorry, Shadow faded into a black shadow on the ground. Puns. And slipped into a dark corner of the library, vanishing from sight completely. Shadow growled beneath his gritted teeth and slammed his fist against the mantle behind him, forming a large crack in the stone.
Damn it.
Shadow was wrong. Whatever Stone wanted to do to prove his love for Diana was worth it. I felt my heart agree with my thoughts, with a firm thump in my chest. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and entered the room. Seto looked up at me with a startled gaze when he heard the door creak as it opened.
Oh,
Hi. Seto looked down at the table, embarrassed, while he rubbed the back of his neck.
How long were you there?
Long enough. Long enough to hear what Shadow said about me. With a frown, Seto turned his gaze to his feet. As I stepped further into the room, he let out a sigh.
I've been thinking a lot about what we've talked about. You asked me if there was a way to prove my love to Azair. Well, there is a way.
Really? Seto nodded before ushering me over to the table. I walked over and looked at what Seto wanted to show me. A large set of maps all pointing to a single area in the abyssal plains near the ocean.
There's a legend that has been passed around the demon world for eons. The Golden Rose. It's said that if someone finds its hiding place and proves that the love in their heart is real, the rose will blossom and become physical proof of their true love.
Is this legend true?
No one can say for sure. No one has ever found it, yet the legend exists, so it must have some form of merit. I've tried for years to find its location, and now I have.
Seto pointed at a hand-drawn circle on the map and glided his finger along the map toward the area where the rose was said to be.
It would only take me 2 days to get there and to return. If the story is true, then I'm positive I can find it and bring it back to Azair as proof of my love.
As Seto finished, his smile darkened to a sad grimace.
However, I have been advised against this journey, and for good reason. I would be abandoning my lady days before the final battle, and that alone could be considered treason. Even more so, would she forgive me for leaving at such a crucial time?
I looked at Seto's face, seeing the conflicting emotions running through his eyes as he stared at the maps in front of us. Was it really worth it?
Still, this may be my only chance to do this. When we win this war, my lady will require me to be by her side more so than ever. I must be there to support her at all times when she rebuilds this broken world, but I would lose the chance to prove my love to her.
I didn't know what to say in response. Well, I wanted him to do what he felt was right. There were so many things that could go wrong. What if the legend was false? Would he be gone for nothing and come back empty-handed? What if something happened while he was away? He wouldn't be able to return in time to help. Or what if something happened to him on his journey? He wasn't invincible. I closed my eyes, trying to figure out what to say to him. When I realized what I wanted to say, I spoke up. Ah! Don't give me this. Don't give me this. Oh! That dream is always the hard things. Why? What am I doing? What am I doing? Seto really loved Diana. It was plain as day, and if she wasn't persuaded yet from his words and dedication, this journey would convince her. It was worth the risk if he was really in love with her. She was strong enough to handle things on her own while Seto was away. Seto looked at me in surprise as I smiled to him. If this will prove your love to her, then you should find the rose and give it to her. Whatever the risk is, if you believe it's worth it, then do it. Something in Seto's eyes glistened, as if a spark had been ignited, and the hope in his heart began to burn with joy. A smile grew onto his face as he nodded, now determined.
You're right. I'll leave tonight and come back with the rose, even if it's the last thing I do.
I grinned wildly. I was happy for him to see Seto's determination to prove his love filled my soul with joy. Jeez. As he stepped towards me, I watched as he wrapped his arms around me, giving me a friendly hug.
Thank you for your help. I won't ever forget this.
You got this. You got this, dude. I smiled and hugged him back, patting his back. At my words, he squeezed me tighter before letting me go. Seto nodded to me before rushing out of the library, most likely set off on his journey as quickly as possible. He needed all the time he could get. I, however, felt my heart give an approving thud in my chest. I had done the right thing. It raised a question, however. Would I have done the same one for the one I love? After a brief moment, I nodded to myself. Yes, I would have. I left the library and headed towards my room, now filled with determination of my own. Why do I feel like I did something bad, even with the music? Rabbit! Goodness. I trekked to my room, letting the day fade into the back of my memories as I remembered Diana's words to Damien. She would have a ritual set up for him. Calm down! She would have a ritual set up for him if he wanted to be human, but the choice was his. A part of me screamed to stop him. The risk of his life wasn't worth it, but it was something he desired more than anything. The fix seemed simple, but it was deadly. I could lose the man I love over something trivial. Was it trivial?
Of course it is.
I wasn't surprised anymore, glaring at the floor as the voice made themselves known in my head.
He's being selfish. Why be a human when he could be happy with you as a demon? Why does this change have to happen?
It's what he wants.
But what do you want? You're the one about to sign your life away to him forever and ever. Shouldn't your opinion matter whether he becomes a human or stays a demon?
My mind began to agree, but it wasn't that selfish within itself. Was I truly that important to where I was allowed to decide Damien's choices because I was his soon-to-be wife? I continued forward, letting the dark chuckle from the voice reverberate in my head into a simple echo. This was my choice, and the voice needed to stay out of it. Whatever it was, I would deal with it in due time. For now, my focus was on Damien. Oh, look who's wearing clothes! I reached our room to see Damien standing by the door, obviously waiting for me. As he caught sight of me, he smiled slightly and walked over to me, meeting me halfway.
Hey.
Hi! Hi! I couldn't mask the worry in my voice. I was nervous, frightened beyond anything else about this. There was a lot at stake, and I became witness and potential victim to it all with each minute that passed. But would Damien listen? Would he understand? What would he do if I voiced my worries? Would he give a damn about the risk? Did he give a damn? I gazed into his eyes, seeing a hopeful fire burn within them. His answer was clear while mine wasn't. It was completely uncomfortable to be in my skin, but I had to... Okay. But I had to accept that it was an obstacle we had to face one way or another. Damien took up my hand and held them to his chest.
Would you be upset with me if I went through with it?
Part of me felt like screaming, begging for him to reconsider. The other part of me wanted to simply shake my head and accept that what was about to occur. I was completely torn. I gripped onto Damien's hands, clinging for something to soothe me, make me feel at ease. When nothing came, I scrambled to try and answer him. If it makes you happy, then do it. I don't know what's the right answer anymore. I had to accept it. It wasn't my choice to make at all. It wasn't fair to Damien to... You know? It wasn't fair to Damien to demand that he change his mind for me. Besides, I loved him no matter what. Human or demon, he was still the man I loved. I stared into Damien's eyes as I gripped his hands and hugged them to me, lovingly. I could see the pure joy in Damien's eyes as he stared down at me, tears lacing the edges. I love you no matter what you are. If you truly wish to be human, then let's do everything we can to make that happen. Before I let Damien reply, however, I brought his hands to my lips, kissing over them with a now worried expression. I was still scared. I could lose him. But please, please don't you dare die on me. I can bear to live without you. Damien nodded, leaned in. I don't know why I said that. Kissed over my forehead gingerly.
I will do everything I can to survive it.
A wave of relief washed over me from his words. Maybe he was enthralling me to calm me down, or maybe his love was simply... I cannot speak. His love simply reassured me that everything would be alright. Either way, this was happening. I looked up at him, caressed his cheek, feeling him lovingly nuzzle into my palm. Then, let's tell Diana. A smile danced along Damien's lips before he wrapped his arm around me and buried his face on my shoulder. I could hear him whimper a bit in happiness as I wrapped my arm around him, pulling him close.
Thank you.
I feel like I made a terrible decision. I could faintly hear his voice and my head scoffed.
Wow. You're really going to let him die. How sad. I guess you'll have to prepare a funeral instead of a wedding.
Oh, I am going to kill you! I rolled my eyes and held Damien tighter. I wouldn't listen to it anymore. I believed in our love more than anything. We would be okay. The 2 days that followed came filled with work from Diana and her group upon Damien's request. Diana ordered a massive search for everything needed for a transmutation ritual that would normally have been used to make a human a demon. The warrior of the ritual bubbled in my core. But I was going to be alright. This was something Damien and I decided together, and this was going to make Damien happy. But that was all that mattered in the end. Of course, the experience wouldn't have been great without the lovely voice in my head trying to convince me otherwise. I settled that the voice was some form of worry, some sort of regret I was holding that morphed into represent Diana, the one who placed the worry there years ago. I would beat it out soon as Damien returned to me as a human. As the 7th day arrived, the ritual was prepared, ready for us. The others gave us their own concerns and wishes, hoping for the best regardless of what happened. We were positive that we would be okay. I don't know how I feel about this. Entering the war room, Diana looked over at the pair of us, nodding and stepping away from the table. On it were arranged purple and gold candles, all lit with black, but somehow illuminating flames that flickered the air gently. It seemed mystical and shadow-like, but I'm lost. But if this is how it was done, then this is how it was done. There was a space in the center of the table for a body to lay down, within a circle of candles, making it clear what would have to happen. Diana just at the table looking to Damien and pointed to the large space between the arranged candles.
Lie down when you're ready.
Diana nodded. Damien nodded before turning to me and smiling, taking my hand and kissing it.
You'll be here when it's over, right?
Yes. I nodded, smiling up at him, kissing his hand in return. I will, I promise. A smile was exchanged between us before Damien looked at Diana and walked to the table, stepping up on a block that was placed for him near the table to let him climb up with ease. As Damien settled onto the table, Diana walked over to me and took my hand, guiding me toward the table as well. Huh?
A theory. Indulge me.
Okay. I watched as Diana guided me to the chair beside the table, letting me sit on it before taking Damien's hand. Before taking Damien's and my hand and clasping them together.
This is part of the ritual?
Is it?
No, but it's a theory I have that might help.
Diana closed her eyes and wrapped her hands around Damien's and mine, letting a soft purple glow emanate from them and circle around our hands.
You are human and are full of energy. If something falters, we can use your energy to rekindle it and resume the ritual.
Fear sank into my core, remembering the risk of the transmutation. But at least Diana was trying to find a way to make the ritual work. I was rather thoughtful. Damien smiled at me before laying his head back down and staring at the ceiling. I squeezed his hand as Diana removed her hands from our clasped ones. Purple magic continued to dance around our hands as I smiled back to Damien.
Ready?
Damien and I nodded at the same time before both of us closed our eyes. I could hear Diana step back and mutter under her breath some sort of Latin incantation I couldn't dissect. As she did, the energy around the room began to pulse and wave like an ocean in a storm. The air began to brush against my skin, causing me to look down at Damien, seeing the black fire around the candles around him intensify their illumination. I tightened my hold on Damien's hand and shut my eyes again, desperate and hopeful that this had to work. It had to.
It won't work.
I'm gonna end it here now. Thanks, creepy voice. I'll see you guys next time. Pray for Damien.